Sentry mode activated. Target acquired.
Hey hunters, and welcome back to the Gunners Guild. This is going to be the second part of the Bowgun breakdown of kind of what's going on with their MOs, how they work, their associated sets, and what guns to use. So if you're looking for information about the switch skills, wirebug moves, or the raw MOs like normal, spread, and pierce, please check out the previous videos I had done. Now today I'm going to talk about slice, sticky, elemental, shrapnel, and status. Well, not so much those last two. But anyway, without adding too much, let's just get into this. So obviously I didn't cover shrapnel in the last video on raw MO because there's no real reason to ever build around shrapnel. The only thing shrapnel has going for it is that it magnets to landmines, so you can detonate landmines super easily. And that in Rampage you can hit multiple monsters at once. Rampage is not hard enough to warrant building around shrapnel MO though. If you have it, great, use it on counter gong and there's like 3 Kizu beating on your gate, but otherwise don't worry about it. Don't build around it. The motion values are atrocious. It's just bad. It's just stop with the shrapnel. Regarding status, there's not a whole lot to cover. They do exactly what they do, what they've always done. They've gone under no like new changes or iterations or anything like that. Charging them with heavy bowgun does not increase their status output. It increases their motion value damage, I know, but yeah, that's it. So status is status. So that being said, let's move on from those and get into slicing. Slice is kind of funny because it had gotten nerfed from the demo where no one could use it or test it here to the main game, and the demo was a 10/5 motion value, which is awesome. It would have been fucking amazing and the go-to MO forever, but unfortunately it's only 10/3 here in the actual game. Now 30 motion value isn't great, but the fact that it uses cut hit zones usually means that it's going to do more damage on our bullets anyway, because gunner hit zones are always poo. Now slice MO doesn't require an MO up skill to use, so you can pretty much focus on weakness exploit, crit boosts, and straight raw instead. However, they typically have bad clip sizes, so you might want to run MO up here. Slice has always been pretty easy mode, and that's kind of still the case. In fact, if not for the limited crafts, we only have 30 plus 30 more to make, I'd probably only be using slicing MO. However, with that out of the way, let's talk about the weapons and sets to use for slice. On heavy bowgun, we have two main options. Zinogre's heavy bowgun is solid and it's what I kind of prefer to use for slice, not really because it has great slice MO, it's got a clip size of 2, which is shit, but because it has Wyvern Heart and normal 3s as backup as well. Plus the stats on the bowgun are pretty fantastic. Now you can also use Magnum Malo's heavy bowgun for slice, which is another thing I do use. It has a much bigger clip size with 5, better supporting MOs because it can literally use every good MO in the game, and it has good stats. The only downsides for slice specifically on the Magnum Malos is that at best with a recoil down 3, you can get slice to average recoil, meaning it's going to shoot slower than Zinogre's. And it has Wyvern Snipe, which I'm just not a fan of. So for your backup on here, you should definitely be using Stickies, Clusters, and Spreads. You can use Nargacuga's heavy bowgun as well if you want to run slice and pierce 3, but I'm just not a fan of not being able to walk and shoot, especially with heavy bowgun. Now you do definitely want to charge your slicing shots since you only have 60 uses of slice MO, so the counter charge switch skill is pretty much a must here. Now you don't need the focus skill because while it is nice and it does stack your counter charger, 3 ranks of focus is a bit too much of an investment right now with our limited available slots, and it does help but not that much. Now on the same page, you definitely need spare shot for slice because the limited clip size and MO means you really want those spare shot procs. Thankfully, it's not that difficult to get. You can run the Urushi or the Channeler head and then Puke gloves for spare shot. And then to finish off your set, you can do like Scald Away Sinogre chest for weakness exploit, and then Ingot legs or Rajang for just extra stats. Now for your charm, you definitely want weakness exploit, crit boost, or attack boost somewhere in there, or something with 3 level 1 slots because you do need to get your recoil and your reload up to make slicing really usable. On the light bowgun side, you still have the same options for the most part. Zinogre's light bowgun has rapid fire slice though, which is fantastic for MO management. Also, since it's on rapid fire, you can get rapid fire upskill to increase its damage similar to any MO upskill. Do note that rapid fire slice and its alternative MOs are shot in 2 shots, not 3. Now the downside for the Zinogre light bowgun for slice is that the only other MO it can really use well is normals, and we all know how I feel about normals. Granted, with enough spare shot procs, you might be able to make it through a hunt just fine on slice alone, Overall though, the same set can be used for both light bowgun and heavy bowgun, but if you're going to be running rapid fire slice, your charm you want is going to be rapid fire up. If you're not going to use rapid fire slice, then Magnum Malo's light bowgun is your next bet. It's got a clip size of 5 on its slice, which is insane, and you can actually still basically get all the good ammos, which is why this bowgun is so stupid good. But yeah, still you can run the same set. If you're catching on by now, basically every bowgun video is going to include Magnum Malo's light bowgun because it's just OP. Okay, so let's get into explosives, my personal favorite. First, this is going to be a little long. Starting with Stickies, heavy bowgun is obviously going to be your king of explosions here. Tigrex heavy bowgun is just amazing in this area. It's got absurd raw with power barrel equipped, and you really don't care about the negative affinity since explosions can't crit. This heavy bowgun can run Sticky 3s, Cluster 3s, and Wyvern, and it has Wyvern heart, so that's great. Now besides scaling raw, you do need to grab Artillery 3 to scale Stickies and Wyvern. You can get Artillery 2 on the Renoplos gloves and just slot in Artillery 3 with a level 2 decoration, or just put 3 artillery decorations in, your call. Now for the light bowgun side, there's pretty much only one option, and if you guess Magnum Malo's, then yeah, you'd be right. Seriously though, this bowgun does fucking everything. While Anjanath light bowgun can also be used for Stickies and clusters, it doesn't have any useful backup ammo, and you can't really manage a hunt with just Stickies and cluster 2s. But with Magnum Malo's, you get slice, spreads, pierce, normals, and pretty much anything you want as backup. Don't bother with lower levels of sticky ammo, by the way. Sticky 2s are pretty bad compared to Sticky 3s, and we don't have any rapid fire Sticky 2 options. Rapid fire Sticky 1s are pretty much worthless outside of some cheap KO, as they only shoot 2 shots instead of 3. So things like Tigrex Tank and the Bizarro light bowgun are unfortunately going to get pushed by the wayside. Because again, it's not that these light bowguns are bad, it's just with their limited crafting ammos and stuff, there's just no real reason to use them, and we just need the bigger, badder ammos. Speaking of, yes, we do need spare shot because these things run out of ammo quick. In general, those Stickies are actually pretty fine to use as a primary ammo, however, due to their limited quantities, you definitely need a backup. Clusters, Wyvern, and Slicing are pretty much our go-to heroes because they all kind of scale the same way, and they just synergize pretty well. That being said, let's go over the Wyvern ammo really quick, which is a heavy bowgun exclusive. Now Wyvern is actually really strong in Rise. It does scale off artillery and raw, and while Wyvern ammo is something that only heavy bowgun can use, it's really cool that heavy bowgun can actually charge it, which makes it deal some serious numbers, and even more so on sleeping targets. So sleep in Wyvern is pretty damn solid. Unfortunately, there's like no options in the game that have sleep 2s and Wyvern with decent raw. Wyvern also has a problem with its hitbox. Now in previous games, Wyvern's shot would go a little bit further than the explosion hitbox, and you can actually hit it even if the reticle says you're out of range. No, not in Rise. You can't even hit it if you're in range. Tons of the time I only hit the aftershock of the hit and not the primary, resulting in it dealing like 79 damage instead of 700. The hitbox is super tight, and I've gotten to the point where I only really use this if the monster is actively not moving. It's still really strong ammo, but god, it could be so much better if it had a good hitbox. It's kind of the same problem I have with Wyvern mines right now, actually. Okay, so clusters turn. I'll state it right now, no, clusters are not as good as world clusters. They're good, just not that good. We aren't obliterating Elder Dragons in 2 minutes with them. They do have solid motion values, and we do get to carry plenty, but the HP of monsters in Hub Hall and Rise are way higher than base game world, like more than double. So we realistically don't have enough ammo to get through the hunt with just clusters. You need some insane spare shot RNG, restocking, and probably a capture to make it work on just clusters. But it can work, it's just not reliable at all. So while clusters are great, they definitely need some help. Good news is that they only scale off pure raw, and that goes pretty well with things like slicing ammo. And if you're running Stickies, you might as well run clusters too if you can. Though obviously you do need spare shot here as well. Clusters always have small clip sizes and very limited ammo, so get spare shot in there. Now for cluster bowguns, you do have a couple options. For heavy bowgun, I run the Tigrex heavy bowgun, like I had mentioned earlier. It gets all the explosions, so it works very well with itself. Now you can also use the cat cannon heavy bowgun for level shot clusters. If you don't know, level shot clusters are clusters fired like normal ammo, and it's as broken as it sounds. Unfortunately, there's only 2 level cluster heavy bowguns in the game, the Cat Cannon and the Renoplos heavy bowgun. Cat Cannon has respectable raw, but can pretty much only use clusters and Wyvern. The Renoplos heavy bowgun can also use Stickies, but unfortunately this thing has some really crappy raw, so the Cat Cannon actually outdamages it significantly, making it not really worth using. Now, the cat cannon is a great meme bow gun, but I don't really see it being a staple for most people since again it's heavily reliant on RNG spare shots and we just can't really use it in any sort of TA setting, which is why I'm just kind of not really caring about it. Like if I can't get through a hunt without having to restock and force capture a monster, it's not for me. For light bowguns, you guessed it, we're running Magnum-Alo's light bowgun. It's got great raw, it can use cluster 2s, which again is the max for light bowgun, and has basically every good ammo on backup. So you can effectively run sticky slice cluster light bowgun setup, which is not the best DPS, but it's still fun as shit. And the good news about light bowgun is you can actually fire your clusters while you're using your wire bug like pendulum or your vaulting attack, so you don't have to sit still and crouch fire them. Now the sets for Slice, Cluster, and Sticky are all pretty much the same since they just need to focus on scaling raw and then grabbing like artillery for Sticky Wyvern, but otherwise they're pretty easy to make, all the same stuff. You just might have to change around like weakness exploit for running Slice or not, but they do all want to attack and spare shot. Okay, so with the explosions out of the way, let's touch up on some elemental gunning. So the motion values for elemental guns are not bad, but they're also not that great. We obviously have some problems here. But our go-to for elemental gunning is pretty much going to be our elemental pierce ammo, because as soon as you get at least 2 or 3 ticks in, it's going to outscale normal elemental ammos really quick. However, scaling elemental ammo is also pretty difficult in Rise. The elemental attack up skill is pretty weak, and it's still mandatory because we don't have much to use on level 1 slots anyways. Crit element is pretty much useless in this. Elemental reload has to be a joke, and there's no elemental attack up rampage mod for bowguns. In fact, the only good rampage mod for elemental gunning is elemental exploit, and that's on exactly 2 bowguns, both of them light bowguns. It's Rathalos's and Emoldrin's light bowgun. Obviously, these are going to be our go-to for elemental gunning because of just that, which also means we don't have very many targets to use elemental gunning on. Your skills are going to be pretty basic. You need spare shot because you only get 120 rounds of ammo, which is great, but sometimes not enough for a hunt. Plus, the clip sizes can be pretty low, so the extra shots help delay your reload. We do, however, have some rapid fire elemental pierce options, which I'm unsure about. I don't really like them after testing them. You can scale these up with rapid fire up skill, but without elemental exploit, the damage per tick is pretty lacking, though they are much better with ammo efficiency. But also with the rapid fire charm being so damn rare, good luck with all that anyway. But if you do get one, you can at least try them out. Now they're not going to be better than Rathalos or Emoldrin's though, as the rapid fire is only 2 shots, not 3, and you can't move and shoot or reload any of these. They all have the same archetype. Now overall the fire rate is going to be a lot lower. So while they're an option, I would just stick to Wrath and Emoldrin and just have fire water element. Elemental gunning does have its uses for sure. Basically any monster with a solid 25 or higher hit zone is probably a good candidate for being elemental gunned, including Diablo's Wings, Boss Kebab Arms, Emoldrin's Tail, Wrath Face, and all that stuff. Now speaking of Wrath, let's talk about Dragon ammo really quick. This motion value changed from the demo to full release, and while we can still only carry 13 rounds of it, I see some promise here. Specifically, this is where Heavy Bowgun is looking good for element. No light bowgun can run rapid fire Dragon Pierce, which is sad, but Heavy Bowgun can charge shot it. It kinda shreds too. I don't think there's enough ammo to hunt with it, but thankfully with the Mango Heavy Bowgun we do have access to other supportive ammos, and like in World, Spread Dragon set can be made with Mango's Heavy Bowgun and Light Bowgun sets to kind of crush Rathalos. I'm not really sure what else I'd use on Dragon though, because Narwa has way too much HP to build around 13 shots, though I expect that Heavy Bowgun with Pierce and Charged Dragons in a group could put in some crazy damage. I still need to do some testing on the Heavy Bowgun, but I'm pretty optimistic with this thing. So regarding the rest of the elemental ammos and stuff, they can definitely be used. I'm only seeing a few cases where they're going to be better than Slice, Pierce, or Spreads. It's not really a bad thing. I'd much prefer to have a couple niche uses than no uses at all. And while not every elemental has good options like Ice, there's at least some decent bowguns to try. So that's basically it in covering all the bowgun ammos and stuff we're using right now. That's kind of a lot to talk about, but not a whole lot's going to change until we get that first content patch, so I don't really plan on doing any truly meta stuff until that first DLC drops, because like I said, everything's going to get changed, I'm 100% sure. And right now people just kind of need to work on their charms and get all that stuff in order. So I'm going to be working on Gunlance stuff next in the meantime, and this is going to be pretty much it for the bow and bowgun stuff. I will be posting some of my little silly runs I've been doing. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and good luck out there hunters and whatever you may be hunting.